At 78, Sally Field names the 7 actors she wanted to date hardest. She captured America's heart as the flying nun won our respect with 2 Academy Awards. And at 68 years old, Sally Field remains one of Hollywood's most beloved treasures. With a career spanning over 6 decades, she's worked alongside some of the most desirable leading men in film history. But now, in a rare moment of candid reflection, Sally Field has revealed something her fans have always wondered: the 7 Hollywood heartthrobs she most wanted to date. These aren't just any actors. They're the men who defined masculinity for an entire generation, whose posters adorn bedroom walls, and whose smoldering gazes made audiences weak at the knees. From passionate real-life romances to secret crushes that never materialized, Sally's list gives us a fascinating glimpse into the heart of a woman who has always been much more than just the girl next door. What makes an actor irresistible? Is it those piercing eyes that seem to look right through the camera? That distinctive voice that sends shivers down your spine? Or perhaps it's that ineffable star quality, the kind you can't manufacture or fake. Today, we're going to explore the 7 men who made Sally Field's heart race the fastest throughout her legendary career. From steamy on-screen chemistry that spilled into real life to admiring glances from across crowded award ceremonies. These stories will make you see one of America's sweethearts and the men she admired in a whole new light. So settle in as we count down the 7 Hollywood leading men who captured the imagination of one of our most enduring stars. And trust me, number 1 on this list is going to make you say, "I can't believe they never got together." But first, let's start with the man who actually did win Sally's heart, at least for a time. Number 7, Burt Reynolds, the real-life romance that burned too bright. If you were alive in the late 1970s, you couldn't miss them. Sally Field and Burt Reynolds were Hollywood's golden couple, a pairing that seemed to have everything. The rugged machismo of Reynolds with his trademark mustache and cocky laugh perfectly complemented Field's girl next door. Charm and undeniable talent, but their relationship was far more complicated and ultimately heartbreaking than many fans ever realized. Their romance began on the set of Smokey and the Bandit in 1977. Reynolds was already a massive box office draw, the quintessential alpha male of American cinema who could fill theater seats with just his name on the marquee. Field, meanwhile, was fighting to shed her wholesome image from roles like Gidget and the Flying Nun. The attraction between them was immediate and electric. There was something about him, Sally once revealed in an interview with Diane Sawyer. The camera absolutely loved him, and so did I. There was this chemistry that you couldn't deny, this spark that lit up the moment he walked into a room. For nearly 5 years they were inseparable, starring together in 4 films that showcased their undeniable chemistry. Smokey and the Bandit, Smoke-Okie and the Bandit 2, The End, and Hooper. Their real-life relationship enhanced their on-screen performances, making audiences feel like they were glimpsing something authentic and special. But beneath the surface, troubles were brewing. Reynolds, at the height of his fame, struggled with the pressures of stardom, turning to prescription painkillers after a jaw injury. His jealousy and controlling behavior began to suffocate Field, who was coming into her own as a serious dramatic actress. The breaking point came just as Sally's career reached new heights. In 1979, she won her first Oscar for Norma Ray, a performance that established her as one of Hollywood's finest actresses. Reynolds, rather than celebrating her achievement, reportedly felt threatened by her success. As her star ascended, their relationship crumbled. Years after their split, Reynolds would call Field the love of my life in his 2015 memoir, expressing regret over losing her. Sally's response was more measured, acknowledging their passionate connection while recognizing its ultimate toxicity. "We had a real relationship, not a Hollywood romance," she wrote in her own memoir in pieces. "It was complex and not without its troubles, but it was very real. What makes this relationship so fascinating isn't just that it happened, but that decades later, both stars still spoke of it with such emotional rawness." Reynolds, until his death in 2018, continued to name Field as the one who got away. And Field, while clear-eyed about their problems, has never denied the powerful pull he had over her. Their story isn't just a Hollywood romance. It's a cautionary tale about how passion alone isn't enough to sustain love. But it also speaks to the lasting impact certain people can have on our lives, even long after the relationship has ended. For Sally Field, Burt Reynolds represented a pivotal chapter in her personal story. A love that burned too bright to last, but too significant to ever fully forget. But Reynolds wasn't the only leading man to catch Sally's eye. Let's move on to number 6 on her list. A blue-eyed legend whose appeal transcended generations. Number 6. Paul Newman, the unattainable blue-eyed dream. Some crushes remain forever in the realm of fantasy, distant stars we can admire but never reach. For Sally Field, Paul Newman represented that kind of idealized attraction. With his famously piercing blue eyes, chiseled features, and effortless cool, Newman wasn't just a movie star. He was a cultural icon whose appeal spanned decades. Paul Newman was the kind of actor who made everyone around him better, Sally once remarked during a Hollywood tribute. And those eyes, well, they weren't just blue. They were truthful. When he looked at you, even on screen, you felt like he was really seeing you. Though they never starred in a film together, Sally and Paul crossed paths numerous times throughout their careers at awards ceremonies, charity events, and industry gatherings. The mutual respect between them was evident, with Newman reportedly praising Field's performances in Norma Ray and Places in the Heart. What made Newman particularly appealing wasn't just his physical attributes, though those certainly didn't hurt, but the depth and complexity he brought to his roles. From Cool Hand Luke to The Verdict, Newman portrayed men with moral ambiguity and inner conflict, qualities that resonated with Field's own approach to acting. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Newman's off-screen persona matched his on-screen appeal. His 50-year marriage to Joanne Woodward became Hollywood's gold standard for commitment, proving that lasting love was possible even amid the temptations of fame. His dedication to philanthropy, particularly through his Newman's Own food company that donated all profits to charity, showcased a social conscience that aligned with Field's own activism. I think what made Paul so special wasn't just how he looked, Sally explained during a Turner Classic Movies interview. It was who he was as a person, his integrity, his commitment to his craft, and his causes. That's what made him truly sexy. While Newman was firmly committed to Woodward throughout his life, it didn't stop generations of actresses, Sally included, from admiring him from afar. He represented something increasingly rare in Hollywood, the complete package of talent, looks, integrity, and longevity. When Newman passed away in 2008, Field was among the many industry colleagues who paid tribute to his legacy. There was no one quite like him, she said. He set the standard not just for how to be a movie star, but how to be a good human being. That's a much harder role to play. Paul Newman may have been the unattainable dream, the perfect movie star crush who remained safely in the realm of fantasy. But our next contender on Sally's list represents something different. The rugged action hero whose gruff charm made him Hollywood's most bankable star throughout the 1980s. Number 5. Harrison Ford, the reluctant sex symbol. Harrison Ford and Sally Field never shared the screen, but that didn't stop her from joining the millions of women worldwide who fell under the spell of Han Solo and Indiana Jones. Ford represented a new kind of leading man in Hollywood, rugged but vulnerable, heroic yet flawed, and Sally wasn't immune to his considerable charms. Harrison Ford is ridiculously hot. Sally once candidly admitted during a rapid-fire interview segment on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. The audience erupted in agreement, and Sally's knowing smile said it all. Some attractions are simply universal. What made Ford particularly appealing to someone like Field was likely his approach to fame. Like Sally, Harrison was known for valuing the craft over the celebrity, the work over the spotlight. Both actors came up through the industry at roughly the same time, with Ford famously working as a carpenter between acting jobs before Star Wars catapulted him to global fame in 1977. While Field was collecting her first Oscar for Norma Ray, Ford was cracking his bullwhip as Indiana Jones. They represented two sides of Hollywood in the early 1980s. She, the serious dramatic actress, he, the blockbuster action hero. Yet both brought an authenticity and lack of pretension to their work that set them apart from their peers. I think what's attractive about Harrison isn't just the obvious, Sally explained in a retrospective about 1980s cinema. It's that he never seemed to buy into his own hype. There's something very appealing about someone who can be the biggest movie star in the world and still seem like they'd rather be building furniture in their workshop. The timing never aligned for these two to work together, despite both having lengthy relationships with some of the same studios and directors. One can only imagine the chemistry they might have generated on screen. Ford's gruff minimalism playing against Field's emotional transparency could have been cinematic magic. Instead, their connection remains one of professional admiration from afar, with Sally joining the long list of co-stars and colleagues who have praised Ford's work ethic and understated charisma. In Hollywood's ecosystem, they occupied different niches, but shared a common approach to their craft, prioritizing authenticity over glamour, substance over style. For fans of both actors, the notion of a Ford-Field romance, even a fictional one, carries a certain appeal. Two unpretentious stars who never quite fit the traditional Hollywood mold finding connection with each other. It remains one of cinema's intriguing what-ifs, a pairing that exists only in the realm of possibility. But while Harrison Ford embodied the action hero archetype that dominated 1980s cinema, our next contender on Sally's list represented a different kind of masculine appeal. The small screen star whose mustache launched 1,000 fantasies. Number 4. Tom Selleck, the mustache that launched 1,000 dreams. In the early 1980s, as Sally Field was establishing herself as one of Hollywood's most respected dramatic actresses, another star was rising, albeit on the smaller screen. Tom Selleck's portrayal of private investigator Thomas Magnum in Magnum P.I. made him television's most desirable man, and a cultural phenomenon whose appeal transcended demographics. That appeal certainly wasn't lost on Sally. With his 6'4" frame, signature mustache, and twinkling eyes, Selleck embodied a playful masculinity that offered a refreshing alternative to the brooding intensity of many film stars. While Sally never worked directly with Selleck, she's mentioned him in various interviews when discussing the actors of her era who captured the public imagination. Tom Selleck had this wonderful quality. She once remarked during a career retrospective, he could be incredibly handsome and sexy, but there was also something approachable about him. He seemed like someone you might actually meet and have a conversation with, not some untouchable idol. This accessibility was part of Selleck's unique appeal. Despite his classic movie star good looks, he projected a down-to-earth quality that made audiences feel they knew him. Like Field, Selleck never seemed to take himself too seriously, maintaining a self-deprecating humor about his sex symbol status, while continuing to hone his craft as an actor. The timing of their careers ran parallel in many ways. While Field was winning her second Oscar for Places in the Heart in 1985, Selleck was at the height of his Magnum fame and beginning to transition to film roles in movies like 3 Men and a Baby. Both found themselves navigating the complex waters of fame while trying to maintain some semblance of normal life. There's something about that era. Sally reflected in a conversation about 1980s Hollywood. We all knew each other, at least peripherally, through events and award shows. Someone like Tom would walk into a room and yes, everyone noticed. How could you not? But then he'd start talking, and you'd realize he was just as normal and grounded as anyone else in the business. What might have made Selleck particularly appealing to Field was his reputation as one of Hollywood's genuine nice guys. Known for his professionalism, courtesy, and respect for collaborators of all levels, Selleck's off-screen reputation matched Field's own approach to her work. Talented professionals who never forgot the importance of treating others with dignity. Though their paths crossed only occasionally at industry events, the mutual respect was evident. Selleck, like many of his contemporaries, has spoken highly of Field's talent and contributions to film, and Sally, while maintaining her characteristic discretion, has included him among the actors whose work she admired during that formative decade of her career. For a generation of viewers, Selleck represented an ideal, handsome but not threatening, masculine but not macho, successful but still relatable. It's no wonder that Sally Field, with her keen eye for authentic talent, would have appreciated those qualities in an era when style often trumped substance. But while Selleck represented television's answer to the classic movie star, our next contender on Sally's list was known for something very different, a reputation as Hollywood's most notorious ladies' man. Number 3. Warren Beatty, the charismatic heartbreaker. Every list of Hollywood heartthrobs must include Warren Beatty, the legendary actor, director, and producer whose romantic conquest became almost as famous as his films. For a young actress coming up in the late 1960s and 1970s, Beatty represented the epitome of Hollywood charisma, and Sally Field was no exception to his widespread appeal. Warren had this presence. Sally once recalled during a Hollywood Reporter roundtable, when he walked into a room, the energy changed. Everyone felt it, men and women alike. He had this intense focus when he spoke to you that made you feel like you were the only person who mattered. though never romantically linked in reality. The idea of Field and Batty as a potential couple isn't far-fetched. Both came to prominence during the same era, with Batty already established as a major star when Field was transitioning from television to film. Their paths would have crossed at numerous industry events, and given Batty's reputation for pursuing talented actresses, it's entirely plausible that he would have found Sally's combination of talent and girl-next-door charm appealing. What made Batty particularly fascinating wasn't just his legendary good looks or his impressive body of work in films like Bonnie and Clyde, Shampoo, and Heaven Can Wait. It was his intelligence and his understanding of Hollywood as both an art form and a business. Batty wasn't just a pretty face. He was a filmmaker who helped reshape American cinema in the 1970s, a quality that would have resonated with Field's own artistic ambitions. There's something very attractive about someone who understands all aspects of the business, Sally explained when discussing actors who became successful directors. Warren knew how to tell stories from every angle. As an actor, a writer, a director, a producer, that kind of comprehensive vision is rare and frankly sexy. Batty's reputation as a womanizer, he was linked to everyone from Natalie Wood to Madonna before finally settling down with Annette Bening in 1992, added an element of danger to his appeal. The challenge of being the woman who finally captured the heart of Hollywood's most notorious bachelor would have been intriguing to many actresses of the era. For Sally, whose public image was significantly more wholesome, the contrast between her persona and Batty's might have created an interesting tension. It's the classic attraction of opposites, her authenticity and emotional openness playing against his sophistication and carefully cultivated mystique. While we can only speculate about any actual interest between them, the fantasy pairing of Field and Batty represents an intriguing what-if scenario in Hollywood history. Would her grounded nature have anchored his restless spirit? Would his intensity have drawn out even more of her considerable talent? These questions remain in the realm of cinematic fantasy, which is perhaps where they belong. But while Warren Batty represented Hollywood's sophisticated ladies' man, our next contender on Sally's list offered something different. A laid-back charm and artistic credibility that made him one of the most respected actors of his generation. Number 2, Jeff Bridges. The chemistry that leapt off the screen. Sometimes on-screen chemistry reveals truths that extend beyond the script. And the spark between Sally Field and Jeff Bridges in the 1982 romantic comedy, Kiss Me Goodbye, certainly raised eyebrows. Playing a widow whose new relationship is complicated by the ghost of her dead husband, Field shared several intimate scenes with Bridges that showcased a natural, easy rapport between the actors. Working with Jeff was like dancing with someone who always knows the next step, Sally revealed in a retrospective about the film. There's a shorthand that develops, a trust. You can try anything because you know they're right there with you, supporting whatever choice you make. This professional admiration clearly had personal undertones. During promotional interviews for the film, attentive viewers noticed the warmth in Sally's voice when discussing Bridges, the slight flush that would appear when recounting their scenes together. While always professional and discreet, the subtle signs of attraction were there for those paying attention. What made Bridges particularly appealing was his unique position in Hollywood. Neither a conventional leading man nor character actor, Jeff carved out his own niche with performances that combined technical skill with natural charisma. From The Last Picture Show to Starman, Bridges brought an authenticity to his roles that matched Field's own approach to acting. Jeff has never been afraid to be vulnerable on screen. Sally noted in a later interview about actors she admired, "That's rare, especially among men of our generation. He could play strong characters without relying on traditional machismo. There's something very attractive about that kind of security in one's own skin." The timing of their collaboration is significant as well. Kiss Me Goodbye came at a pivotal moment in both their careers. Field fresh off her first Oscar win, Bridges establishing himself as one of Hollywood's most versatile actors. Both were hitting their stride professionally, bringing confidence and maturity to their craft. Off-screen, they shared similar values despite different personalities. Both maintained relatively low-profile personal lives by Hollywood standards, prioritized family, and approached their celebrity with a healthy skepticism. Bridges' laid-back California coolness complemented Field's more intense, emotionally available Southern warmth. While no romantic relationship developed in reality, Bridges has been happily married to Susan Geston since 1977. The professional respect and personal warmth between them has endured at various awards ceremonies and industry events over the years. Their reunions have been marked by genuine affection and easy conversation that speaks to a lasting bond. For fans of both actors, their connection represents one of Hollywood's more intriguing might-have-beens, a pairing that made perfect sense on paper and sizzled on screen, but remained in the professional realm. Their chemistry in Kiss Me Goodbye, while not enough to make the film a major hit, remains a testament to the mysterious alchemy that sometimes occurs between two gifted performers. But while Jeff Bridges represented a perfect professional partnership with hints of something more, our final contender on Sally's list embodies a different kind of appeal altogether. The rugged Western icon whose voice alone could make an entire theater swoon. I need sleep, brother. No, come on. You help me. You help me. You help me write the letter, please. Number 1. Sam Elliott. The voice, the mustache, the legend. At the top of Sally Field's list of actors she most wanted to date stands a man who represents the quintessence of rugged American masculinity, Sam Elliott. Though they never starred in a film together, the potential pairing of Field's emotional depth and Elliott's stoic strength represents one of Hollywood's great missed opportunities. That voice, Sally reportedly said during an AFI tribute, shaking her head with a knowing smile. Sam Elliott could read the phone book, and women would line up around the block to listen. There's something about that slow, deliberate way he speaks that just, well, indeed, we do know Elliott's deep, resonant baritone has become legendary in Hollywood, instantly recognizable whether he's playing a cowboy, a roadhouse bouncer, or himself in a self-parodying commercial. Paired with his signature mustache and weathered good looks, Elliott created a persona that feels like it walked straight out of an American myth. What makes the idea of a Field-Elliott pairing so appealing is the contrast they represent. Sally's characters often showcase vulnerability, emotional transparency, and a certain wholesome quality, while Elliott's embody restraint, quiet strength, and an old-school stoicism. It's the classic yin and yang that creates both romantic and dramatic tension. I've always been drawn to actors who bring something completely different from me to the table. Sally once explained when discussing potential co-stars, the most interesting combinations come from those contrasts. The emotional and the reserved, the animated and the still. That's where the sparks happen. Though their paths crossed at various Hollywood functions over the years, timing never aligned for them professionally. Elliott was often typecast in westerns and rugged character roles, while Field pursued more diverse projects that showcased her range. A collaboration between them remains one of cinema's intriguing what-ifs. What adds poignancy to this hypothetical pairing is that both actors share similar values despite their different screen personas. Both have maintained long-term marriages. Elliott, to actress Catherine Ross since 1984, prioritized family over fame and approached their careers with a workmanlike dedication rather than a pursuit of celebrity. There's something very attractive about someone who's maintained their integrity throughout their career. Sally noted when discussing actors of her generation who've aged particularly well, who hasn't chased trends or tried to be something they're not. That authenticity becomes more and more appealing the longer you're in this business. For fans of both actors, the fantasy of Sally Field and Sam Elliott together represents a perfect balance. Her emotional expressiveness complementing his reserved strength, her petite stature against his imposing presence, her rapid-fire delivery playing against his measured draw. It's a pairing that exists only in our imagination, but one that perfectly captures the appeal of contrasting energies. As Elliott himself might say, in that unhurried, honey-over-gravel voice, some things just make sense, even if they never actually happened. The power of attraction. What Sally's list reveals about Hollywood and ourselves. What can we learn from Sally Field's 7 dream co-stars? Beyond the obvious appeal of these handsome, talented men, her selections reveal something deeper about attraction, compatibility, and the evolving nature of Hollywood masculinity. First, notice the variety in her choices. From Batty's sophisticated charm to Elliott's rugged authenticity, from Newman's classic movie star appeal to Bridges' artistic credibility, Sally's taste encompasses a wide spectrum of masculine energy. This reflects her own versatility as an actress and reminds us that attraction is rarely one-dimensional. Second, all 7 men share certain qualities despite their differences. Each brought authenticity to their performances, maintained lengthy careers despite Hollywood's fickle nature, and demonstrated a seriousness about their craft. These common threads suggest that for Sally, as for many of us, surface appeal might catch the eye, but substance maintains the interest. "I've always been drawn to talent," Sally once reflected during a career retrospective. "The most attractive quality in anyone, but especially in this business, is commitment to the work. That focus, that dedication, it's magnetic regardless of what package it comes in." What's particularly telling is how many of these men represented alternatives to the traditional Hollywood leading man archetype. While undeniably handsome, none relied solely on their looks. Each brought complexity, vulnerability, and nuance to their performances, challenging the one-dimensional masculine ideals of earlier eras. This evolution parallels Sally's own journey in Hollywood, from the perky, wholesome roles of her early career to the complex, layered performances that earned her critical acclaim. Her attraction to men who similarly transcended typecasting speaks to her values as both an artist and a woman. For viewers of a certain age, Sally's list provokes nostalgia for an era when movie stars possessed a kind of gravitas often missing in today's celebrity landscape. These 7 men represented not just sex appeal, but a particular kind of adult masculinity, confident without being arrogant, strong without being domineering, serious about their work without being pretentious. There was something special about that generation of actors. Sally noted in a conversation about Hollywood history, "They came up in an era when you had to prove yourself, when longevity was the true measure of success. That creates a different kind of performer than the overnight fame we see today." Perhaps what makes Sally's reflections so compelling is that they come from a woman who has seen Hollywood from every angle over 6 decades, from her early days as a television engine to her current status as an industry elder stateswoman. Field has witnessed the machinery of fame up close. Her perspective on which men stood out amid all that glamour and artifice carries weight. In the end, Sally Field's list of dream co-stars tells us as much about her as it does about the men themselves. It reveals a woman of substance who values authenticity, talent, and complexity, qualities she herself has exemplified throughout her remarkable career. And isn't that the most attractive quality of all? A final thought: why we love these Hollywood pairings. As we conclude our exploration of Sally Field's 7 dream-leading men, it's worth asking why we find these hypothetical relationships so fascinating. What is it about imagining our favorite stars together that captures our imagination so powerfully? Perhaps it's because these fantasy pairings allow us to combine the best qualities of stars we admire. The warmth and emotional transparency of a Sally Field with the rugged stoicism of a Sam Elliott creates a perfect balance, a relationship we can project our own ideals onto. Or maybe it's simpler than that. In a world where celebrity relationships often burn bright and fade quickly, these what-if scenarios let us imagine connections based on something more substantial: mutual respect, shared values, and genuine admiration. The most important thing in any relationship, on-screen or off, is respect. Sally has said everything else flows from that. Chemistry, connection, longevity. Without it, you have nothing worth having. As Sally Field continues to grace our screens at 78, she reminds us that appeal isn't limited by age. That attraction has as much to do with spirit as with appearance, and that the most compelling stars are those who bring their authentic selves to every role. So, here's to Sally and her 7 dream co-stars, to the relationships that were, the ones that might have been, and the ones that live only in our imagination. In the magical world of Hollywood, sometimes those fantasy connections are the most perfect of all. If you enjoyed this journey through Sally Field's romantic wish list, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more fascinating insights into the lives and legacies of Hollywood's greatest stars. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Which of these 7 actors would you have most liked to see Sally paired with on screen? Until next time, this is Channel Name celebrating the golden age of Hollywood and the stars who made it shine so brightly.